Hello, good evening. Welcome to this stream. I'm just adding it to social media now. If you're joining me from YouTube, hello. The time is 10 p.m. Pacific. And this is part of a series on chaos magic about soulmates and karmic contracts. I'm going to go into that a little bit tonight. Share this to social media, x.com, and then I will embed it my page. You can find the other chaotic mind content by going to the live page. And actually, I'm going to share that area with you. So hopefully you caught the earlier stream. The Find Your Spirit Guide, Metaphysical. Let's load. Go. So I hope you were able to catch the Find Your Spirit Guide, Metaphysical. There's adult content, sexual discussion, no visuals. But yeah, you can find that. It's going to be moved. Well, it won't be there anymore because I'm going to replace it with this stream, but it'll be available on the events page. But actually today what we're going to be going over kind of is this information here. So if you go to the live page and scroll down to the spirituality and religion subsection, the chaotic mind, it's below the chest, and I need to remove this ad for the Black Relay event. But yeah, it's in the spirituality and religion subsection under the chaotic mind. There's a video there by Aleister Crowley. I did not make that video. And then there's two videos here with the chaotic mind. You can watch those if you like. This one, I would probably recommend this one a little bit more. This is also the book, The Chaotic Ghost. So it's just a video series on chaos magic. It kind of goes hand in hand with my other projects. So you can find the rest of that there. Let's see. This is, I don't know how long this is. Oh, it's 10 minutes. I'll play that while I'm getting this.
Welcome to my presentation, The Moral Compass, a part of the series The Chaotic Mind, an interpretation of chaos magic, by Autumn Lee. Today we will be going over what the moral compass is, what it means to you as a fledgling chaos magician, and how it impacts every aspect of your life once you've chosen this paranormal spiritual path. We'll talk about your morals and how they form your personal code of ethics. This will lead into determining your path as a chaos magician. The dark arts covers necessary reading and research in order to develop and hone your craft. You will eventually want to legitimize, and this may involve a name change. But ordination is part of the process, and you can instantly become an ordained minister online, calling yourself whatever you like following that, and have the authority to legally marry people after following some steps, and enjoy other constitutionally protected rights as an ordained minister. If you are a biological female, you may choose to call yourself something more feminine instead of minister. I call myself a high priestess of Astari. We will go into what Astari is later. Your moral compass is something you use daily, whether or not you even realize it. Your moral compass tells you what actions to take, when to take them, how to take them, who to take them against, who to protect, who to trust. Literally everything you say, do, or think is based on an internal code I will refer to as your moral compass. Identifying this compass enables you to utilize your natural, visceral gut instinct in everyday life situations, passive aggressive and thusly accepted by the rest of society. In the chaos, you can watch Dexter on Showtime. Dexter was able to carry out his acts of vengeance against the dregs of humanity, all while charming the very homicide department that would end up investigating his crime. Egoist blends into everyday life, and why you may not really know one until it's too late. Your moral compass as a chaos magician is your guide, your dark passenger, if you like. It is your personal code. Moral ambiguity is the circumstance of being unclear about boundaries and ethics. When someone doesn't appear to have any morals or maybe loose morals, they're lacking in self respect, autonomy, or something else that would otherwise make them a useful human being. Someone who does not have any moral boundaries in life, and not just paranormal. This person needs to work on their internal sense of self and self efficacy prior to engaging in any practice, inclusive of chaos magic, that involves activities requiring strong frontal lobe functioning. Developing a good sense of right and wrong is a start to any effective code of ethics. Your moral compass should be the guiding light that perseveres when your gut instinct and conscious perception of a situation do not align in some way, causing you to experience negative emotions. Having a strong sense of right and wrong is good in all aspects of life, but especially chaos magic, when you may engage in multiple practices that might be condemned by some religions. My version of chaos magic involves necromancy, and many chaos magicians utilize this condemned practice for many reasons, which are useful to today's society and culture. Some reasons to use necromancy include predicting the future, carrying out a difficult task, and reminding dead souls that they are no longer alive and they're free to move on to the spirit realm. 4 simple steps to determining your path as a chaos magician are as follows. First, are you in touch with your higher self? Your higher self can be compared to your instincts because that is where your instincts come from. Your higher self knows what you're doing right now because it is always 10 steps ahead of you. Your higher self is an extension of your actual self, body and spirit, and is connected to the divine in a way, even when practicing astral projection, applying theories of quantum physics or mechanics. Find your cord to your higher self. It is much like the umbilical cord in your mother's womb that you used in utero to sustain life. Now, what motivates you? What makes you push on when the odds are stacked against you? What defines your will to live? This can be many things. For some, material wealth is what drives them and motivates them to do the things they do daily. For others, love is a motivator, and that is the reason they do anything at all at any given time. Next, what gives you quote unquote dopamine? Dopamine is our happy feeling, and we all get it naturally from doing things we love. You can also get dopamine from eating large quantities of red meat or consuming large quantities of chocolate. The best, most efficacious way to obtain a dopamine rush and get high on life is to do something bigger than yourself, such as planting a tree or fostering an animal, meeting a new romantic partner and your first union, getting married and having children. All of the aforementioned situations are providers of dopamine. which is a natural high someone gets from doing something that makes not only a difference in their life, but the lives of others and those to come in the future. Leaving a legacy is the best provider of dopamine, and it also provides your actual self with something to motivate you when life hands you lemons and you don't have the wherewithal to make lemon cake or pie. Maybe you stop drinking. In any case, find a natural high that gives you dopamine and identify it. Lastly, find a mentor. Are you a chaos magician that practices Christianity or one that practices Satanism? Do you use both? Do you use everything you can? Essentially, a chaos magician should use all means available. Find a mentor to help guide you. Even though there are condemned practices in any religion by some other competing religion that says it is wrong, it should not stop you from learning about them and perhaps incorporating them into your personal eclectic variation of magic. You are what you curate, and the more you learn about religion and spirituality, the better you will be at your craft. This includes reading about the so-called quote unquote dark arts, which are generally just condemned books and practices that have made their way into the slush pile known as black magic. Some of these books will include ritualistic magic that might make your stomach turn. Don't incorporate that into your style then. Just because something exists doesn't mean you should make it a part of what you practice as a chaos magician. It helps to know what you're up against. Anyway, if you decide your moral compass and ethical code is in no way going to involve overt egoism or satanic rituals. A few recommended authors are Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, Zach Bagans, Emmanuel Lasker, Silver Ravenwolf, Linda Goodman, Anne Rule, Raymond E. Feist, Richard Cavendish, H.P. Lovecraft, Shakespeare, and Zechariah Stitchin.
It's actually Sitchin, not Stitchin, it's Sitchin.
I first became an ordained minister of Universal Life Church in 2005. I have reinstated my credentials of ministry and am referred to during rituals as an ordained high priestess. I have the legal authority to marry people in any religion essentially, but Astari is the only unrecognized religion I have performed ceremonies from which I use ideology. Astari is something I will go into later. But if you're interested in branding yourself as a religious pioneer, like me, consider legitimizing by becoming ordained as either a minister or priestess, however you would like to refer to yourself.
I sound like a snake oil salesman
Once
right
you've
here.
done that, look into tax benefits and branch
Yeah.
out, spreading your message far and wide to those who may join you in this incarnation. Thank you for tuning in.
So yeah, I just found it funny. But no, really, you do have like quite a lot of benefits as an ordained minister or priestess of your I mean, you have to look into it. It's quite a lot of red tape, but yeah, so there's that presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And you can find those on the live page by looking under the subheading for the chaotic ghost or under spirituality and religion, the chaotic mind. So tonight, I don't plan on being on for too terribly long. I'm going to be talking about soulmates and karmic contracts. I touched on karmic contracts in the presentation I did a few hours ago. Find your spirit guide, the metaphysical world presentation. And I wanted to go into a little more detail about what I mean by karmic contracts and soulmates. I'm also going to be reading a little bit from this, and I think I might make this like a two-part video thing on soulmates and karmic contracts. And I'll be reading a little bit from this. It's Soulmates by Jess Stern. Um, and yeah, so if you have a copy of it, I'm going to be reading chapter 9 on these presentations. So I'm going to be reading through those if you wanted to kind of follow along. I'll see if I can find a free copy of it online. Otherwise, I'll just be reading the entire chapter 9. Um, but everybody has 3 different types of soulmates. I'm actually going to do like a little infographic here. Let me set one up. Soulmates. Okay, so let me share this tab here. Okay, so soulmates and karmic contracts. Okay. And I'll make this available, I guess. So today we're gonna, let's see, today is soulmates. Okay, so we have 3 types of soulmates. Everybody does. Your first is the most obvious that everybody talks about. It's your twin flame. Second is a karmic soulmate, which goes along with karmic contracts. Your third is your companionship soulmate. You know what? Actually, I'm going to redo the order here. Your second is your companionship, and third is karmic. So your twin flame is basically like what everybody talks about, like when they talk about soulmates. That's what everybody thinks of as their twin flame. That's what this book largely goes over, is finding your twin flame. Your companionship soulmate is somebody different usually than your twin flame. It can be the same person, but sometimes it isn't. Your companionship soulmate is usually somebody that's a friend close to you that you feel comfortable with, that you end up married to. You know, like it's maybe not like, um, the passionate type of love affair that a twin flame is typically known for, but it's a comfortable kind of relationship. So that's what a companionship soulmate is. So your companionship soulmate can also be your twin flame, but oftentimes they're not, and there are a few reasons for that. A karmic soulmate is, again, it goes along with the karmic contracts. Um, and you have a few of those. Everybody does. So you have 3 different types of soulmates. You have your twin flame, which is usually just one person. You have your companionship soulmate, which can be 1 or 2 people. And you have your karmic soulmate, which is several different people. I'm just going to add these little notes here. Your companionship, most common, I should put this. Your twin flame is the most commonly thought of. Your companionship soulmate is typically who you marry and can be your twin flame. Rarely is, but it can be. Karmic soulmate, someone you have a karmic contract with. So your twin flame is most commonly thought of as a soulmate. That's what everybody thinks of when you say soulmate. Your companionship soulmate is typically who you marry. It can be your twin flame. Not always, but it can be. It's very rare. Your karmic soulmate is somebody you have a karmic contract with. Those are the types of soulmates that you have. I'm going to make this pretty. And actually, let me make this public so you guys can follow along when I'm typing it. Oh wait, it's kind of hard to read. Oh, there. Okay. So I'm going to share this with you under the stream, if you want to follow along. And then I'm going to read a little bit from Jess Stern's Soulmates. And you see if I can find a link to that book. You probably have to buy it. I don't think I could find a free copy. Just from Google Books. You can rent it. Can you get it for free? Yes. Oh, cool. I just found it. Awesome. Okay, so I just found the actual book that you can download too. I'm going to add this here. Okay, yeah, let me leave this. Okay, so if you want to read along, just make sure. Yeah, replace it with its title. There we go. If you want to read along, you can read along in the same book that I am reading now. I'm going to be reading chapter 9. So, quick way. Oh, it's a limited preview. You may have to. This is a free download. Okay, well, I might be wrong. Let me see. The preview. I don't know. Homepage view. You know what? Yeah, it's not the whole book, I don't think. No, it isn't. Well, darn it. It said free. Let me try again. So I'll try to find another copy of that actually is free. Yeah, you might not be able to get it free online. No, this is not a. Okay. Well, unfortunately, you can't get the book for free online. There is another book though that I will share by Edgar Casey that is free. That's pretty cool. It's free for 30 days anyway. So let me add that here. What does that? Huge. Yes. Okay, so this is Edgar Casey. We'll talk about Edgar Casey more later, but you can download this for free. I've never read this, so I'm downloading it for myself right now. The book I'm going to be reading from, though, you do have to create an account, though, to download it, but I'm still doing it. The book I'm going to be reading from, though, is different. The book I'm going to be reading from is Soulmates by Jess Stern. So I'm putting both of these up, links to these up at the Soulmates and Karmic Contracts sort of little notepad that, oh, actually, you can't download it for free. Never mind. I'll figure that out later. You have to do a free trial. But those are the books that I would recommend for learning about soulmates. I'm going to read chapter 9 right now of Soulmates by Jess Stern. If you own it, awesome. So I'm just going to read this aloud. Um, okay, so chapter 9 is called The Ram Speaks. I didn't know what to make of Jay-Z. She spoke of her spirit entity, Ramtha the Ram, as I would a brother or dear friend I admired. She played the piano marvelously, though she'd never had a lesson, giving Ram all the credit. The stirring music played exclusively on the white keys was all her own, though she couldn't write a note of music. She could paint and paint beautifully without instruction, because the Ram had said she could. As Ramtha, she not only predicted the future, but apparently made it happen. She and the Ram were separate entities, merging only when she went into trance. And the Ram's personality took over. Often finding it hard to distinguish between the two, I use the names interchangeably when speaking of their work. The Ram was always positive, sure of himself, while Jay-Z claimed infallibility only when making claims for the Ram. I have never known him to be wrong, she smiled, not even when he discusses the very sensitive subject of soulmates. Jay-Z and the Ram forged far afield in guiding the lives of those who came to them for counsel. She advised actress Shirley MacLaine to turn down 2 bids for movies to await a third movie, Terms of Endearment, which the brilliant actress, co-starring with Jack Nicholson and Deborah Winger, thought her finest role. You will not only win the highest award for this coming picture, she told MacLaine, but you will bring great enlightenment to the world with your writing. He, the Ram, encouraged the actress to go on with her book out on a limb, even as friends, including a number of intellectually oriented writers, argued that a book on way out subjects such as reincarnation would endanger her standing with her public. The Ram assured her that the book would open new doors and add to her development, and indeed it had, personally and professionally. She knew no limitations now, having crossed a threshold of metaphysical understanding into the unknown. And as her friend and admirer, I saw in the enhancement of herself a new opportunity for a soulmate who would be a worthy counterpart. Forgive me while I pause and some water. So, yeah, this is in the middle of the book, but it's a good chapter, so I'm just going to continue. So again, and as her friend and admirer, I saw in the enhancement of herself a new opportunity for a soulmate who would be a worthy counterpart. The Ram agreed. Her life, in a sense, is only beginning. She will draw to her that which she requires, and in doing so will achieve such fame as few actors have known, and great happiness as well. Ironically, the most moving acknowledgement of the Ram, I thought, came from another fine actress, whose last days were made tranquil by the Ram's assurance of the peace she would find on the other side. The late Joan Hackett, believing as much in the infinity of a personal universe, left this unique testimonial of her own. I have been to psychics all over the world, said she, and many have told me things that happened. But Ramtha was the only one who made it happen. A small town housewife turned psychic, Jay-Z Burnett looked more like a movie star herself, with her sky blue eyes and upturned nose. She had an appealing, often helpless manner of not quite knowing what strange and mystical transformation had overtaken her. But as Ramtha, the omniscient one, she featured a gruff, masculine voice, for Ramtha was all man. Authoritative, incisive, often bitingly witty, and never at a loss, however pesky the question. As if by chance, not knowing the Ram had said I would one day write about him, I met not only Jay-Z but her husband, Mark Burnett, a dentist of Tacoma, Washington. I could have found no two more prosaic people, I thought. That is, until the discussion got around to the ram. Both were enraptured with the ram, Burnett surprisingly, even more so than Jay-Z. Their initial experience with the ram was a remarkable one. Burnett and Jay-Z had come across a description of Patrick Flanagan's pyramid power and constructed several cardboard pyramids on the order of the Great Pyramid of Giza, scattering them around the house to see if they would really preserve food and flowers as advertised. Jay-Z then placed one of the pyramids over her head and laughed. Maybe it will do something for my brain. Then Burnett stuck one on his head. Thinking how funny they looked, they laughed till the tears came to their eyes. At this unlikely moment, Jay-Z happened to look down the hall and was blinded by a dazzling white light streaming from the ceiling. She blinked, then opened her eyes to see a towering male figure filling the doorway. He had a bland face with gleaming olive skin, a twinkling smile out of luminous dark eyes, and a shining white headdress that fell loosely over his shoulders. Jay-Z sat stunned, her mouth agape. Mark gave her a startled look, wondering at the change in her. Jay-Z finally blurted out, "Who are you?" The baffled Burnett couldn't see any figure. I looked at the doorway, he recalled, to see what Jay-Z was staring at, then turned back to see that her eyes were closed. There was an electric feeling in the room, as if our vibrations were rising, and Jay-Z was saying in a strange masculine voice, "I am Ramtha, the enlightened one. I have come to help you over the ditch." Not for a moment, watching Jay-Z, did Burnett question the reality of the ram, be it a superior guide who had walked into their lives or a dramatization of Jay-Z's subconscious, which neither of them even thought about at the time because they were unfamiliar with the metaphysical. The intense feeling that accompanied the ram's opening words was a remarkable part of this experience, Burnett later said. Because of this emotional impact, Burnett never doubted the reality of this strange and singular experience. At that moment, I had two conflicting emotions, one of awe at the strange happening, and at the same time, a feeling of recognition or familiarity, as if Ramtha was somebody I had always known. The ram was very much aware of their antics with the toy pyramids. He said we were like children, trying to become adults spiritually, and he went on to explain that the little pyramids, which he referred to as fiery forms, were a symbol of the fire within us. He discussed many things, including healing the self through a positive attitude. Greatness does not come from heroic deeds, but from a knowingness within, which is the key to the universe. As the strange voice came to a stop, Jay-Z slowly opened her eyes, looked at Burnett, and said in her natural voice, "What happened?" "I'm not sure," he said, suppressing his excitement, "but can you do it again?" She closed her eyes, and again the ram appeared as he was to appear many times in the future. There was nothing about our business and home life, however intimate, he wasn't aware of, Jay-Z recalled, as we sat around my home. He told Burnett he should advertise his office hours, though this was contrary to the rules of the American Dental Association at that time. "Don't worry about it," the ram announced. "There are forces at work that you don't know about." Not long afterwards, the rules were incredibly changed. The ram was concerned about something that was to greatly concern them. They were in grave danger in their present home, he said, and gave her the name of a Tacoma realty agent, Roy Burnside, whom she had never heard of before. Burnside, he told her, would provide a new safe home for them. "In 2 days," he said, "your children will have a dream. And when they tell you of the dream, you will know you have to be out of the place you are now in." 2 nights later, Jay-Z's two children dreamed of murderous robbers breaking into the house. Frightened, Jay-Z went looking for a new house. She stopped at a realty office on the highway and asked for a Mr. Burnside, and a secretary said, I'll ask him to come here. I'll ask him to come out. Jay-Z didn't bat an eye. A business like Burnside found them a white house, as Ramtha had said, and they moved in the same weekend that their old house was broken into and pillaged. An uneasy Jay-Z kept asking Ramtha who he was and why he had come to her. She was told she would know in due time. Meanwhile, she was to listen and heed what he said, to grow so she could help others to grow, to think of herself as a master, a great teacher, because he, a great master, spoke through her. Months passed while she got to know Ramtha without her once thinking of going public. He spoke to her of holding dialogues with people and how she could help them. Almost persuaded, she asked, "Do we put an ad in the paper? How do we do it?" "Just invite the people and the word will spread. You will abdicate the body entirely, and I will come into the body, but you will have no memory of this. When you speak, people will listen." There was no doubting Burnett's devotion to the ram. The ram seemed to offer a pathway to the mysteries of life that Burnett had not gotten elsewhere. The greatest quest, the ram had said, is the quest for self. "I had always felt there must be more to God and religion than what I found in church," said Burnett. The ram seemed to be that more. The intensity of feeling that occurred during a dialogue was the result. The ram told us of his raising the soul vibrations of the people he was communicating with. It was not unusual for people attending a dialogue for the first time to be uneasy or apprehensive, as there was a nervous feeling that the ram had established contact with them even before they got there. Many of the people were sure someone had come beforehand and told the ram about their private lives. The ram was so bewilderingly accurate. After a slow start, people had flocked to Jay-Z's dialogues. Her lifestyle changed dramatically. Money poured in, and she was able to indulge a lifelong interest in Arabian horses, which she now felt she had ridden long ago with the great Ramtha, and with some as yet unnamed person for whom she felt an unexpressed longing, someone not yet on the scene. It was a hungry yearning, a burning that would not be extinguished, but which she knew was to be but which she knew was to be satisfied even though she seemed happily married at that time. I had listened to the story intently, not interrupting for fear of distracting them. But it seemed to me that it could all be put down to an impressionable mind hungry for recognition. "You must know," I said, "that you see with the brain. You can close your eyes and see whatever you like." "Whatever I saw with," she said, "I saw the ram." In the beginning, there were moments when she thought she was stark raving mad. I thought I must be possessed. I turned to the churches for help, thinking they would have some knowledge of satanic influences and rid me of whatever it was that was plaguing me. She called a Presbyterian church, having been raised in that denomination. She told her story over the phone and was told she had a devil in her and they didn't want any devils around. "Call the Catholic Church," they said. She called a Catholic church and was told they didn't deal with demons either. I asked if I could come to their church, and they said, "No, ma'am, we don't want you bringing anything like that into our church." We called the Methodist Church, the Baptist, the Assembly of God, and they would hang up. Finally, she flipped through the telephone book and the heading, Churches, Spiritualists, leaped out. Phoning one of the churches at random, they were finally received. One of the spiritualists offered to hold a seance to see whether this great Ramtha would come through. "What would you say," asked Jay-Z of the medium, "if I told you I had a great one with me?" "What would you say," said the medium, reaching out with her own antenna, "if I told you I believed you?" There was a silence, and then Ramtha, as if responding to what had just been said, began to come through Jay-Z in a most powerful way. A look of awe came into the medium's eyes. I feel someone in robes around me, she said, as if I touched those robes, I would be touched by greatness. The ram now told them things that had not even been hinted at before. For the first time, he explained why he had picked an obscure Tacoma housewife for his channel. She, Jay Z, stated the ram, had been his beloved daughter in some distant time, his companion in peace and war, his sweet reminder of a time when his word was law. Burnett, too, had lived at that time as one of her father's warriors. It had been arranged for them to marry, but he was killed off in battle. She was just as well pleased, for when her father's young robesman looked at her, her knees quaked. He made her feel a woman, though she was only 14. They hadn't married because of her single minded devotion to her father. It was a regret she had plainly brought into this life. There was a wistful note in Jay Z's voice as she spoke of this soulmate, even though Burnett was sitting next to her. Obviously, this soulmate had not yet arrived, or we three would not be together as we were, watching the waves lap peacefully at the steps of my beach house. I looked at Burnett, but he did not seem to attach any importance to Jay Z's soulmate fantasy. He seemed very sure of himself. The Ram's message for Jay Z that day with the medium was a memorable one. "O beautiful wise one, we hail your new knowledge and the great deeds you will perform. We salute you with lights from heaven." Staring into the sky, they saw a huge ball of light sail low over the house, envelop them in its brilliance, and illuminate the heavens. The light was so dazzling that Jay Z hid her eyes. What they saw was seen by thousands of others. The radio blared with frantic reports of UFOs and falling comets. If it was a hallucination, it was not theirs alone. Jay Z had many things to think out, not only of dialogues, but of soulmates and life continuous. Having had trouble myself with reincarnation, I wondered how she had accepted it so readily. The Bible, she said, had predisposed her to this belief, though contemporary Christianity itself did not accept rebirth in new and different bodies. She had been only 14 in Bible class in Artesia, New Mexico, little Judy the zebra Hampton, when her young mind was moved by Jesus telling the Jewish leader Nicodemus, "Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit." She had asked her mother about it, and her mother turned away. She questioned the minister, and he only shook his head. She never went back to Bible class, but all these years, the words kept turning in her head. The advent of the ram had made Jay Z restless, acutely sensitive to this unnamed yearning stirring inside her. She kept thinking of the young robesman and conjured glowing pictures of him in her mind. There was a sense of tenderness and understanding associated with this fantasy. For what else could it be but a fantasy, she told herself. Privately, though not with calculated secrecy, she had asked the ram one day how a person would know his soulmate, as distinguished from ordinary love or infatuation. As he often did, the ram answered with a question. "Would you be happy to meet you? So prepare yourself, so you will be happy with yourself. Start dealing with aspects of thine self that you do not like. What you create in yourself you shall find. The soulmate is a mirror, and the mirror reflects itself perfectly. The neurotic reaches out for the neurotic, the negative for the negative, and so forth. That is why marriages fail. They have not prepared themselves. Looking for their counterpart, they find it." The ram was not one to deal in generalities. What you need, you will find without searching, in the most unexpected way. She was unhappy, feeling that Burnett had become more interested in the ram than in her. But she had no thought of separation. For one thing, she wasn't sure if the ram would approve. Constantly, the ram put thoughts in her mind. She kept dreaming about playing the piano and felt impelled to buy a baby grand, much to Burnett's chagrin, for it was expensive and she couldn't play a note. One night, unable to sleep, strange music surging inside her, she marched downstairs and sat down at the piano. She felt electric sparks flying through her hands. The music flowed from her heart out through her fingers. As she played, she saw the ram watching her, giving her a little encouraging smile. Roused by the music, Burnett and her two children slipped down to listen. A young neighbor, a pianist, listening over the phone, said incredulously, "That's the greatest piano I've ever heard." By this time, Jay Z's dialogues were getting recognition in Washington state and elsewhere, but she found as time went on, her new life was not always fulfilling. She was still depressed at times, even with the success and adulation that came from channeling Ramtha the Ram. Sometimes, she said, I feel so empty, as if my very heart ached. Still, she and Burnett appeared as happy and harmonious as most couples I knew. I saw no clouds on the horizon. I was anxious to witness a dialogue with the Ram and to listen to Jay Z at the piano as well. If she could play the piano like a virtuoso without a single lesson, then maybe there was something to our friend the Ram. The piano seemed a connecting link between her and this all powerful one. Why was it so important to the Ram that you play the piano? I asked. It wasn't for Ramtha, she said, but for me. It showed me God as an unlimited creative force. For Ramtha only spoke for him. I knew then that the God within us has no limitations, but if we know how to invoke him. The Ram had also told her to paint. She painted without a lesson, painting the likeness of people she'd never seen, depicting jewelry and attire they habitually wore, even though she had been given no clue as to their appearance. As we got to know each other better, she turned her conversation increasingly to soulmates, perhaps because she knew I was doing a book on the subject. Is there a soulmate for everybody? She asked. Why not ask the Ram? I said. I'm afraid, she replied, that he might be judgmental. Noting Jay Z's frequent allusion to soulmates, I wondered what would happen if one should actually turn up. Edgar Casey had said a married partner should do the best he could with what he had, where he was, working through adversity to improve his karma. On the other hand, was it unreasonable to hope for some small smidgen of joy that would let us know the good Lord forgave us the frailties with which he had endowed us? Out of curiosity, finally, I attended a dialogue in Los Angeles at Anne Marie Benstrom's Ashram for the Stars. I was not disappointed, for as Joan Hackett had intimated, it was quite a show. In trance, Jay-Z was entirely new personality. She sat erect in a chair, her jaw set, her eyes agleam with a penetrating presence. Her voice was sharp and staccato, with a positiveness richly ribbed with humor. Even the glamorous stars in attendance had their questions about soulmates, and the Ram made it clear that ideally it was a condition to be earned. Love thyself, the Ram said, for in so loving you find that which you love as well. After a while, still in trance, Jay Z or the Ram stood up and began pacing the aisles. Her eyes finally fixed on me. There was no hint of recognition. She came close to me, peering into my eyes, and then her face broke into a knowing smile. You shall find your soulmate, she said in her harsh voice, because of your book. It shall be a great success. Ramtha will see to that. He poked at me with Jay Z's finger. And you shall write on Ramtha also, and it will become a movie. I didn't know what to make of it. I had noticed Joan, Hackett, and other stars as well, all raptly attentive. but for the most part, it was a nondescript audience, what one would find in the average adult education class. As I looked about, the dialogue ended, and I could see Anne Marie Benstrom eyeing me with a sympathetic smile. She understood my confusion thoroughly. A celebrated conditioner of people's minds and bodies, she was more knowledgeable than most. The metaphysical held few secrets for her. You are looking at a remarkable talent, she said. But unfortunately, she feels incomplete through her belief in her need for a soulmate. And how would that help? I asked. We were standing a little to a side, watching as Burnett guided Jay-Z away from the throng. Excuse me, I just burped. You don't really know yourself, Anne Marie smiled, until you see the recognition of what you are in the eyes of the person who loves you. How do you know you have chosen correctly? In the ideal relationship, twin souls, two souls merge into one, and there is no longer a divided energy. With this completion comes a sense of the totality of self. Her eyes followed Jay-Z out of the room. We are only that which we want to become. Jay-Z is still searching. Once we become something, we cease to reflect it. We are it, and we need search no more. Her eyes turned to Katerina, her beautiful blonde assistant, like herself from Sweden. The most perfect state, she said, with a nod for Katerina, is a merging of two higher selves in a cosmic consciousness. Fundamentally, we are searching for the God within ourselves, our immortality, and this takes a knowingness that only a polarity of soulmates can assure. She nodded again toward Katerina, who was looking especially radiant. She owes much to the Ram. You might say he located her soulmate for her. Not that Katerina was looking, not that Katerina was looking. She was happy, living each day as she found it, so busy she didn't know what she might be missing. The Ram had picked her out in a crowded room, pointing to her in a very dramatic fashion. I'm going to make a woman of you, Ramtha told the carefree Katerina, who was known around Anne Marie's ashram as the court jester, the laughing saint of Calabasas. Katerina gulped a bit, but smiled good-naturedly. As you will, she said with a laugh. In 2 weeks, the Ram continued, you'll receive a red box in the mail with a reminder of yourself in it. This will foreshadow the arrival of your soulmates. At the appointed time, a gift box arrived as described, a figure of a clown inside. Katerina saw the connection immediately, for she was happily given to playing the clown. She waited with some amusement for the appearance of her soulmate. Golf promoter Ken Young was an unlikely candidate. He was considerably older, twice married and divorced, but when he showed up for Anne Marie's conditioning program, Katerina and he realized almost at once that they belonged together. 3 months later, they were married on a hilltop near Anne Marie's ashram. The Ram performed the ceremony. Joan Hackett's thumbnail description of the Ram had intrigued me, for I knew her to be a highly sensitive and perceptive individual who had seen the Ram as a positive force in her life. But as I spoke to her later over dinner, Joan still couldn't decide whether Ramtha was really an entity of his own or a dramatization of Jay-Z's subconscious mind in some altered state of consciousness. At this time, though I was not aware of it, Joan was fighting a losing battle with cancer and would only live another 3 months. But aside from faint fatigue lines on her face, one would have never known she was ill. She was her usual witty self, mimicking the Ram's distinctive delivery until we found ourselves laughing uncontrollably. She had been introduced to Jay-Z and the Ram by an actor friend, Richard Chamberlain. They had gone to a meeting room near Ventura, California, which looked to Joan like a large stable or barn. About 30 people were present, a typical cross section, young and old, rich and poor, skeptic and believer. Joan was intrigued by the Ram's performance. I thought it the worst piece of acting I ever saw, but the best act. The Ram had only good news for her professionally, presented with a positiveness that brooked no argument. You will make more movies, the Ram told her, and you will win high honors in your profession. I will send you 3 offers in 3 days, and in one you will play a woman who is very much like you. He may have read the actress's expression, for he quickly added, have no fear, I will manifest it, so all will happen as I say. The Ram had said help would come through a man of humor. Joan had thought this purely a figure of speech. She didn't see how this particular man of humor could help in any case. He was constantly referring to her as a kook and crazy, good naturedly perhaps, but still in a way that would cause studios to hesitate about signing a star that could be troublesome. But when asked about Joan for a lead in Neil Simon's Only When I Laugh, he said simply that she would be perfect. And so she got the part, which not only won her the Oscar nomination, but also the Golden Globe Award and the International Body of Film Critics. She made 2 other pictures quickly, including The Escape Artist, produced by Francis Ford Coppola, the producer of The Godfather. They were not quite as successful, but still won her the plaudits of the critics. As a keen observer, Joan had been struck by the apparent attachment between Jay-Z and Burnett. She had particularly noted Burnett's intense interest in everything the Ram said, and his quick concern after she completed a long and grueling dialogue. As she sat limply, completely drained, he would massage the tension from her neck and shoulders until the color returned to her face and she seemed at one with herself. He appeared completely devoted, and if you had told me they were soulmates, I would not have been surprised. There was a curious, almost sad smile on Joan's lips as she bid me goodbye. The next question to the Ram, she said, shall concern my soulmate. Oh, do you have one? I asked. Oh, no, she smiled. I want one. I'm sure the Ram can do it if anybody can. But, she sighed, we have so little time. Okay, so that's all I'm going to read. That was chapter 9. Um, the reason I read chapter 9 is because it actually touches on all 3 types of soulmates and the situations in which you could encounter all 3 in your regular daily life. So Jay-Z was clearly a psychic medium. It goes into the story who Ramtha is later. Ramtha is somebody that Jay-Z knew in a previous life. She is actually aching for her twin flame. She's married to her companionship soulmate. She's aching for her twin flame, who has not yet arrived in her life yet. Her karmic soulmate is Ramtha. It's her karma to have him speak through her. So when you start to understand the different types of soulmates and the soul ties that you have with people, then those interactions make more sense. Also, when you get into past life regression, but that feeling of just knowing somebody, um, that's probably one of your soulmates. So again, I'm going to include this. I don't know if I added it to the stage. I'm going to include this little note here. We read chapter 9. Let's see, I'm just going to put that here. Chapter 9 of Soulmates by Just Stern. That's what I read. Now, this one, I haven't read it yet. That's by Edgar Casey. Edgar Casey is another very famous psychic who talked about soulmates quite a bit. There is a way to download it. I guess you can read it for free at least. So there's at least that, but that link is included as well under Twin Flames. Now, the again, as far as companionship and karmic, the karmic is someone you have a karmic contract with. Going into karmic contracts, and I don't know if we really have enough time because I've been on for like an hour now. A karmic contract is something that has happened in a previous life that binds you to another person. For instance, let me put some examples. A karmic contract could be you causing someone's death, interfering in someone's life, um, owing someone a debt in a previous life. Gosh, what are some other examples of karmic contracts? I mean, anything. Promises made, promises, vows, anything. Any sort of contract that you have with somebody that goes unhonored. Previous soul mate that goes unhonored, I guess. Is that the word? Yeah, I guess so. So that's what a karmic contract is basically. It's like, for instance, in your previous life, if you met like a companionship soulmate or even your twin flame or just a random person, and you caused them to die, you interfered in their life somehow, like you stole their spouse, who had an affair with their spouse, you uh I don't know, maybe anything. You interfered in their life somehow. You owe somebody a debt in a previous life. So say, and this isn't just, like monetary debts, but it could be maybe you have somebody in your family, a friend or family, and you told them that when you passed away, you were going to leave them your estate, and you end up leaving it to, you know, their cousin or something, and they get shafted. Stuff like that. I mean, if it really makes a big impact on that person, but you kind of get the idea of what a karmic contract is. Those are soul contracts, karmic contracts. That's what your karmic soulmate is. A karmic soulmate isn't necessarily like a pleasant, like lovey-dovey type of soulmate. So your companionship is twin flame is your twin flame. A lot of times you don't marry your twin flame because they're too much like you. But if you're able to kind of find other ways to identify, then it is possible to marry your twin flame. That would be like, I don't know, like winning the lottery, really. But so yeah, so there's types of soulmates, a little bit about karmic contracts, and I hope you enjoyed the stream. I think I'm just going to close it up because it's been about an hour now. And thank you for joining me. Let's see, tomorrow's Monday. So I will be back on stream on Tuesday. I'll be doing chess lessons and possibly playing Kenchi. So I will see you then. Thanks for joining me. Have a great night.